Hi everyone, Dave Bradshaw here, alongside RevPro owner and booker Andy Quildan. And Andy, we have just come off air live in London 108 here in Porchester Hall. And look, we've been at Porchester Hall a while now, and I feel like we say every month it just gets better and better. But it was standing room only tonight, an incredible atmosphere throughout, because I assume that such a big crowd, partly because we had a British Heavyweight Championship match that we'll talk about, partly because Eddie Kingston was here for the first time in 6 years. So there's a huge amount to go through. Obviously, though, the big headline coming out of this is that there was history made in the closing moments tonight. Michael Oku, for all the turmoil that he's been through as of late, becoming just the second person ever to become a three-time undisputed British heavyweight champion.
Another piece of history from the history maker in Revolution Pro Wrestling, and what a championship match that was in the main event. And listen, I feel like so much of this pent up anger, frustration from Michael Oku has been surrounding that undisputed British heavyweight championship picture. He's got that championship gold now, so I'll be very interested to see where that takes him moving forward. We know that there's that goal in the future, 3 months down the line, to be precise, of wanting to headline the biggest show in Revolution Pro Wrestling history, to add another feather to his cap, which has got a lot of feathers in it already. Like, you know, we've spoken about his accolades time and time again. He's been the standard bearer of Revolution Pro Wrestling. It was very interesting to see the reaction from the crowd towards him tonight. And I don't think there was, you know, if you'd said to me 6 months ago there was a world when this would happen, the crowd would respond to Michael Oku in such a way, that I don't think I would have believed it.
2 months ago, we wouldn't have believed it.
And especially the contrast to the reaction that Conor Mills got. But listen, I'm going to take a step back a second and talk about Jay Joshua, because he's been a fantastic undisputed British heavyweight champion, won that championship in December. He's worked so hard to get to this level, the top of his game, and he's defended that belt, and he's held that belt with absolute pride. And some of the championship defenses have been absolutely phenomenal. We'll be remembering them for a long time to come. And then Jay Joshua's going to go down in history as a great champion here in Revolution Pro Wrestling. And he's still very early into his career. And look, if he keeps going, it's again this. We want to see how he responds from this. We know he was heartbroken at the end of this, but he went down like a man. He shook Michael Oku's hand, and he was clearly devastated. But I believe, because of the character of Jay Joshua, he will be back. But it's all change at the top of the table here in Revolution Pro Wrestling.
And look, we saw at the end. In fact, no, let me go back a bit, because during the match itself, I said to you, part of me hopes that maybe Michael does win this, because I think you and I would both say we've been friends of Michael Oku over the years, and just to see him in a state of being that's not his normal self, like we've seen in recent weeks, was something I think we all hoped. If he was to win the championship tonight, finally get what he wanted, then maybe we would get the old version of Michael Oku back. I do have to say, though, that based on the early evidence from the opening moments after he won the title, I'm not sure that's the case, because his singing that "I'm going to Wembley," the kind of the gloating, which brought Conor Mills out, again, not really the Michael Oku that we know and love.
Look, it's not that, you know, Michael Oku always says he appreciates the passion, but you know, at the conclusion of a match, a hard-hitting match like that, it's not really a time to judge, I believe. I think it's what happens tomorrow, what happens the day after that, you know. I think just in the heat of the moment, you know, it's very hard, you know, and again, I know more than anyone what it's like. You know, you get a piece of criticism from someone and it hits way more deeper. You could have 100 people say nice things about you. One person says something horrible and boom, it ruins your day. Now, imagine Michael Oku's position, where he cares so much about that undisputed British heavyweight championship. He cares so much about headlining the biggest show in Revolution Pro Wrestling. He cares so much about this company. He cares so much about British wrestling. He cares so much about independent wrestling. And he's been rejected. That's what he's going to feel like in that heat of the moment. So the reaction to that, look, you can excuse it. The emotions were high, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow is a new day, and I think that he's going to sleep a lot more comfortably tonight, knowing he is a three-time undisputed British heavyweight champion.
And now, as we've said repeatedly, the caveat here is there is a lot of wrestling still to happen between now and August 29th, when we do roll into the OVO Arena Wembley for that 14-year anniversary. If, though, what we saw at the end tonight was a preview of what that main event is going to turn out to be, if it turns out to be Michael Oku defending the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship against his arch rival, Connor Mills. That's one hell of a main event, isn't it?
Well, absolutely is, and it's a main event which has got history, and it's a main event which, look, this saga between Michael Oku and Connor Mills in Revolution Pro Wrestling started in 2019, but it started all the way back to Michael Oku's first day at professional wrestling school, when the man that took him under his wing was Connor Mills. And I think we're going to have plenty of time to unpack, you know, the relationship, the history between Mills and Oku. But each and every single time they've competed against one another, each contest has been stylistically very different to the previous one, but the result has been the same. Michael Oku walking out victorious, and that is something that I know Connor Mills would like to change. It's very hard to get a read on Mills right now because we've not seen him in action since winning that Revolution Rumble. But let's not forget that was about 3 weeks ago, so not a long time ago. But I'm intrigued to see the way Mills handles this, because I think in the minds of Mills and Joshua, what they wanted was for both men, you know, friends, tag team partners, been there, done it all. They wanted to essentially go to Wembley in a battle of respect.
Yeah.
Mills versus Joshua. And obviously now it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And it's going to be interesting to see how Mills responds. We won't have to wait long because we're back in action 2 weeks' time, live in Southampton. So, look, like I say, like this situation in Revolution Pro Wrestling is evolving on a day-to-day basis everywhere. Every division, every situation is evolving on a day-to-day basis. Everything's exciting. Every show, something else happens that then sets off a chain reaction to something else. So, as we say, who could have predicted we'd be where we are today 6 months ago? The reactions from the crowd, you know, you see emerging stars, just so much stuff, Dave, you know. And again, look, this isn't just limited to the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship picture. You look at the women's division, look at Alexis Falcon, who would have predicted she'd be in the position she's in right now. But then look at the emergence of Alice Eat tonight. You know, there's so many situations. You know, who would have thought the Slater Dojo would be undisputed British tag team champions right now? You know, up and down the cards. The change of tune of Leighton Buzzard. I mean, people who knew Leighton Buzzard actually knew him, may have been able to predict where he'd be right now, but we wouldn't, you know. And I just think that's one of the things about RevPro right now. You can't keep your eyes off it for a second, because blink and you might miss something.
It feels like, obviously it's always kind of volatile when you when you're running a pro wrestling company, but everything just feels so fluid at the moment. Like you say, things have changed so much, they continue to change, and we've still got almost 3 months until we get to Wembley. So there's so much going on. And what's great is that the fans are here for it, right? We'll talk about Eddie Kingston in a second, but he got a huge reaction tonight. But another thing that got a huge reaction was the announcement of 2 big names who are coming next month for Live in London 109. Kaylee Ray going to make her RevPro debut, and Bandido going to be here as well. So the hits just keep on coming.
Yeah, well, that's the very nature of it, isn't it? Like Revolution Pro Wrestling, we call ourselves pro wrestling at its best. We want the best wrestlers from around the world. It's what we've been known for over our coming up to 14-year history. And this is no different. And we said, like, these Porchester Hall shows, it's given us the opportunity to grow. It's you know, and these shows can be as big as people make them. And we saw that tonight, and I hope we can just continue to build on that, continue to grow that momentum. Look, we know we've got a huge date in London coming up, November 7th, when we return to York Hall, Bethnal Green. But again, who knows what the complexion of Revolution Pro Wrestling will look like by the time we roll back into York Hall. And again, it's just an exciting time to be a fan of professional wrestling in this country, to be a fan of independent professional wrestling in this country, and something that, you know, we are seeing highlighted. You saw it with Kingston and Manders tonight. We're going to see it next month. Bandido, Kaylee Ray, that I'm no doubt going to be involved in those dream matches. And what I think is cool is just, I said it at the end of the Eddie Kingston Manders match, really, is just the uniqueness of independent professional wrestling. You're up close and personal. We felt and heard every single shot during those matches. You're up close and personal to the action. You're a part of the match. You're not in a huge arena, you know, being a spectator of the action, you're actually a part of the action, and that's the beauty of independent professional wrestling. That's the beauty of Revolution Pro Wrestling. And listen, I today's show, like I spoke to some, I always love speaking to fans after the shows as well. And I spoke to a fan after the show. He told me this is only the second show that he's been to, and he was blown away by it. But his first show he came to was right back here, just 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, whenever it was, at the Portchester Hall. That was the first show he came to. He loved it so much. He came to the show today, similar experience. And he brought friends who weren't wrestling fans, and they all had a great time as well. And it's a shoot story, right? And he said he spent the month between shows just consuming RevPro content. And that's what we want to hear. And when I talk about one fan at a time, that's exactly the type of thing that we're striving to be able to achieve.
And I'm smiling partly because that's a great story, but partly because to have jumped into RevPro now,
it was a good time, wasn't it? Glory.
But just to have, everything that's happened since the last time we were here, just 5 weeks ago, is insane to me. We were talking about the unsanctioned match with Oku and Mills a month ago, and now we're talking about them possibly headlining Wembley. It's mind blowing, everything that's going on. Let's talk about Eddie Kingston. So it was a hell of a reaction, really, just uproarious from the fans to see Eddie Kingston here back in RevPro for the first time in 6 years tonight. And by the way, one called Manders also held up his end of the bargain. What a match it was.
Look, it was a great match. And what I think is, again, Eddie Kingston is all of us, isn't he? He's a student of the game. He's a fan of professional wrestling. You see the passion, you hear the passion in his voice. And he left it all in the ring tonight here in London. And that's exactly what it's all about. And to me, I tip my hat to Eddie Kingston. He's living a completely different world than he was living in 2020 when we last saw him in a RevPro ring. And he's deserving of every one of his successes. He's now a lot more people know the name Eddie Kingston than knew the name in 2020. But the difference is, the one constant is that Eddie Kingston is the same person. He's still, that same guy that's just got a love and passion for this crazy sport of professional wrestling. Like I say, one of us. And I think that's why he resonates so much with the people. And I think that's what people need to remember when they look at Eddie Kingston, when they watch his matches, when they feel and hear the passion in his voice. He's just a fan of pro wrestling. And again, wrestling's it's an interesting world, isn't it? Because, in wrestling, you meet so many people who, are presenting a version of themselves. But when you see Eddie Kingston, you're always seeing that authentic version. And I think that's why he resonates so much. So it was great having Eddie Kingston back in the Revolution Pro Wrestling ring. And that feeling. And, it's crazy because as well, he said he didn't know how the people would respond to him, which is crazy, but he got the reaction he absolutely deserved.
Now, listen, we had a couple of debuts tonight I want to talk about. CSI, one of the most talked about tag teams in Europe, even in defeat, I thought made a hell of an impact. Luca De Leone and Nordino. But then Alice Inc., our opener tonight, knocking out Alexis Falcon, non-title match, admittedly, but really making a statement, the Scandinavian Dragon, by knocking out the champion on her first night in the company.
Yeah, well, listen, CSI, first of all, very interesting and fun and exciting tag team. They've been getting a lot of headlines in WXW, and it's very good to see them. It's always great, and they're spending a week in the New Wave Wrestling Academy this week. They're very, it's very clear they want to be students of the game, and they want to, continue to grow and evolve as professional wrestlers. They're a very unique and like I say, fun act. And I feel like tonight they more than held up their end of the bargain against, the Flying Brian brothers, who are, a great example of two wrestlers who are continuing to evolve, continuing to develop. And when you look at their progression from a year ago to right now, they know who they are in a wrestling ring. They're coming into their own. The fans are getting behind them. And it is great to see. I said, it's almost like before they were always Nino's little brothers, right? But now that are up that level, aren't they? They're all on that one level. And they've had their trials and tribulations across the year, but they came out swinging tonight, picked up a big win over CSI, and I hope we see more of both teams in RevPro in the future. And look, Alice Inc. What a spectacular debut from Alice Inc. She came into tonight with a huge reputation. So many people we kind of have in Revolution Pro Wrestling come into Revolution Pro Wrestling. They come in with a reputation, and it's sink or swim time. Tonight she swam. She swam with the sharks, the biggest shark of them all, in Alexis Falcon. She knocked her block off, right? And
She didn't move. Falcon didn't move
Right.
for a couple of minutes afterwards.
and she just showed. I think showed what a dangerous striker she is. Alexis Falcon did a great job evading that head kick of Ink in the early stages of the match. She let her guard down, and boom. And that's as simple as that. And that's how a match, any pro wrestling match, can change just like that. And Alice Ink, for my money, she seems to be one of the most dangerous competitors in all of professional wrestling. Just educated in so many styles and disciplines of mixed martial arts, and it makes her such a dangerous and different proposition to anyone else on our roster. And I feel like just when Alexis Falcon probably thought she had a chance to breathe because of, you know, this rivalry which seems to be raging on between Kanji and Rio, and who, you know, on any other day they would be they'd be the number one challenger for Alexis Falcon. They seem to be occupying each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if Alexis Falcon thought her life was going to be easy because of that, absolutely it's not, because up emerges a new challenger, and Alexis Falcon is finding out what so many of our champions have found out historically over the years. In any one of our divisions, it's lonely at the top.
Right. And look, I was going to say, if it wasn't for the fact that she lost that match tonight, it would have been a great night for Alexis Falcon, because things went from bad to worse with Kanji and Rio. What hell of an exchange between those two in the closing moments of that tag team match. And meanwhile, inside the ring, Danny Luna thought she had the pin on Emerson Jane after the Luna landing, but Mercedes Blaze, who randomly had come to the ring halfway through the match, we saw her put Jane's foot on the ropes, and off the back of the distraction as Luna's arguing with Blaze, Jane able to hit Luna and secure the win. First of all, great tag team match regardless of the result. I thought it was a phenomenal contest. But secondly, Mercedes Blaze, what?
Look, I've got no idea. I don't know why you're looking at me and asking me questions. We know historically Mercedes Blaze has been very violent towards me, and I've got no interest in kind of trying to have a conversation with her regarding what she's thinking, what's going on in her mind, right? So I feel like I think it's one of those wait and see moments, really. But like Emerson Jane didn't seem to know what was going on either, and I don't want to sit here and give Emerson Jane the benefit of the doubt by any means, because we know the type of character Emerson Jane's shown over the years. I'm interested to see if there was some backstage comments with the pair that maybe we can try and unpick some of what's going on. But I guess it's at what we spoke about earlier, Dave, about that ever evolving and changing landscape of Revolution Pro Wrestling. So I guess it's a watch this space when it comes to Emerson Jane and Mercedes Blaze.
Now, look, we've got a week off next week. We've had six weeks in a row. Then we're live in Southampton the week after that. After that, June 27th in Stevenage, it is the British J Cup. Now, we had an interesting little development on the cruiserweight division side today, because we saw Leighton Buzzard in non-title action against Chicago Desai. He continued to try and beat up Desai, tried to choke him out after his victory there. That brought out Joe Lando. And then an exchange between Lando and Buzzard, in which it emerged that Buzzard seems unprepared to give Lando a rematch for the cruiserweight title unless Lando outlasts 7 others and wins the British J Cup. So coming off the back of that, I know I'm putting you on the spot, and we've only just come off air. Is Joe Lando going to be one of the contenders one of the competitors in the British J Cup? And in any case, should he get a rematch?
Well, look, I think that Joe Lando is willing to be a participant in the British J Cup. I need to speak to him again. We've literally just come off air, Dave. I've not left your side all night, right? So I think like we need to speak to Joe Lando.
I want answers.
We need to figure this out, but hopefully that will happen. I'd love to see Joe Lando in the British J Cup anyway, just because of the prestige of the cup and just the level of competitor which is going to be in it this year. Of course, he would be joining another former undisputed British Cruiserweight champion in Nino Bryan in that tournament, and another former undisputed British Cruiserweight champion in Robbie X in that tournament, and 2 former British J Cup winners in Nino Bryant and Robbie Exenstad as well. So I'd be very excited to see Joe Lando in that tournament regardless. Does he deserve a rematch? Absolutely he does. Leighton Buzzard is El Capitan, the man with a plan. Very, very hard to tie down. Very, very hard to make him stick to his word on anything. He claims there was no rematch clauses, but you know, we need to talk. But like, regardless, I think it's an opportunity for Joe Lando to find himself in, basically, to not allow room for any questions to be asked by Leighton Buzzards. You know.
All right, so much going on. We haven't even really touched on the tag divisions tonight, where, as you said, Sway the Dojo, unexpectedly for some, the new British tag team champions. We know the Young Guns are still in pursuit of them there. We do have a week off, as I said. Busy June coming up. July's busy as well. We've got Summer Sizzler on the 18th, in our first time in Bradford. We've got the Women's Grand Prix just announced as part of a West Midlands weekend. That's July 25th, and Coventry on the 26th. And of course, we're en route to Wembley. Andy, I'm going to go let you have a little rest. And enjoy the week off, and we will see you live in Southampton.
I'm going to try and go on holiday, Dave.
Where you going?
I want to come back.
Somewhere nice?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try and make it happen. I'm going to come back with a tan.
Okay,
that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
We'll have a lovely holiday.
But listen, what I will say is that just keep your eyes peeled on the socials, because we're going to have a busy week, because obviously Women's Grand Prix entrants coming thick and fast from all over the world. So keep your eyes peeled on social media for that. Keep your eyes peeled on social media for J Cup entrants, and of course the upcoming card for live in Southampton. And don't forget, we're back here in a month's time. See me and Dave sat back here, but probably buy your tickets to watch the show to find out what we've been talking about, because we're going to have Bandido in action, the Ring of Honor World Champion, and we are going to have Kaylee Ray in action also. So that's all still to come as this road to Wembley continues. I feel like I've done your job better than
I'm not going to say anymore. That was nice. That was lovely. See you next time.